made Dawson City world famous almost a century ago. Well, today visitors travel the Klondike Loop to experience its vast northern wilderness, explore its wildlife, and capture the spirit of its rich and colorful Gold Rush history. Hi, I'm Lou Hennessian in the land of the midnight sun. Welcome to the Yukon. Located in the northwestern corner of Canada, just east of Alaska, the Yukon is a territory with a total population of 30,000. Resting in the valley of the Yukon River is the Canadian North's largest city and territorial capital, Whitehorse. It was the river that brought early settlers here, and it was the river that gave this place its name. As the story goes, one of the earlier travelers sitting on the shores of the Yukon River took a long look at the rapids and likened the white water to long flowing manes of charging white horses. And so the name of Yukon's capital was born. Today, Whitehorse is home to 20,000 people, and the Whitehorse Dam provides 40% of the electricity to the entire Yukon territory. After the gold rush days and prior to World War II, Whitehorse was a sleepy village of a few hundred people. But in 1942, almost overnight, Whitehorse became a boomtown again as workers poured in to build the Alaska Highway. A mix of pioneer spirit and urban sophistication. You can find anything at Whitehorse a southern city has to offer, though it might cost you a bit more. The past is very obviously present. Many log structures, including this 3-story high-rise, are still very visible along the streets. This environment-conscious city provides animal-proof waste receptacles that require human dexterity to open. In downtown Whitehorse, you can be assured of a warm and friendly northern welcome. The Red Surge Patrols, young students dressed in Klondike-era uniforms of the Northwest Mounted Police, are at your service. Nigel and Jill pointed out the way to the SS Klondike.
Well, you go to the end of the block right here.
Right to the end?
Yeah, and then it's about 10 blocks that way, but you'll see it. You just keep on going down.
An old sternwheeler, the SS Klondike, is authentically restored to the 1930s. Aboard, you'll find everything in place as if the captain and his crew had just stepped ashore. Admission is free, and during the summer, tours are given several times a day. In the Yukon, riverboats were the backbone of transportation. At one time, up to 250 vessels plied the Yukon River and its tributaries. The McBride Museum is built out of logs with a sod roof. Part of Canada's centennial celebrations, it was completed in 1967. Inside is a showcase of northern wildlife. Animals you may never catch a glimpse of in their natural habitat. And for that matter, there are some you might not want to. The faces of the Yukon in this exhibit remind us that the Gold Rush settlers relied heavily on the skills and experience of local Indians to survive. Outside in the courtyard, you'll see retired railway equipment, other early modes of transportation, and an authentic log cabin. If you'd like to escape the hustle and bustle of downtown Whitehorse, find a picnic spot and enjoy some solitude in the great outdoors, you need only travel 6 minutes from the city. You'll find one of Whitehorse's highlight attractions just off the Alaska Highway. The Yukon Gardens feature at least 1,000 different species of plant life, from the common dandelion to rare orchids. Canada's only northern botanical garden includes a large display of wild plants, hardy vegetables, and fruit trees. The climate of the Yukon is as varied as its landscape. Temperatures temperatures during the endless days of June and July range from 10 to 30 degrees Celsius. Travelers should be sure to pack some sweaters and a jacket. The cliffs that surround the Yukon Gardens provide a convenient spot for mountain climbing classes. Miles Canyon was a hazardous point on the gold seekers' journey to the Klondike. Imagine the feelings of the voyagers of yesteryear as they braved these icy waters in makeshift boats. Many lost their lives in the Yukon River Rapids. Today, visitors to Miles Canyon may enjoy the area in a variety of ways. There are guided nature walks in the hills beside the canyon walls. A suspension bridge built over the canyon gives tourists an excellent view. And the MV Schwatka carries travelers safely along the swift-moving river on a 2-hour cruise. The golf season isn't as long as in southern climes, and the game can present some very interesting challenges to your handicap.
Yes, you can golf in the Yukon. In fact, north of the 60th parallel, there's a host of activities to keep you busy in the great outdoors. From hiking to bird watching, kayaking, mountain climbing, even gold panning.
Let's give our golfer another chance to prove himself.
The joys of golf, eh?
No putting greens here, just sandy browns made of special hard-packed sand. And when you finally hold out, please sweep the browns. The Klondike Loop is a circular route that takes you through the heart of the Yukon. From Whitehorse, head north to Dawson City, continue west into Alaska, and then head south, back to Whitehorse.
One of the options available to visitors is to travel the Klondike Loop by recreational vehicle. You can stay at any of the Yukon's 55 RV campgrounds and explore the wilderness and wildlife at your own pace.
With so much to see, the Travel group hopped along overhead by plane. But a more leisurely alternative is right here on the ground. There are a variety of recreational vehicles to choose from. If you do arrive by air, campers and motorhomes are available from several outlets along the route. With our 2 RV camper friends, Dave and Heather, we checked out the map and planned our campsite rendezvous spots along the Klondike Loop. Coming up next, driving the Dempster in the Great Northern Wilderness and camping in the Yukon. To reach the Yukon, fly directly to Whitehorse or enter by one of the gateways. Drive the Alaska Highway from British Columbia to Watson Lake, or take a boat to Skagway, Alaska, and drive directly north on the Klondike Highway. While Dave and Heather drove the RV nearly 600 kilometers to reach our rendezvous on the Dempster Highway, we flew north in just over an hour and enjoyed the magnificent view of the Dawson Range.
This is the only public highway in North America that crosses the Arctic Circle. 40 kilometers south of Dawson City marks the beginning of the Dempster Highway, more than 700 kilometers of gravel road that ends at Inuvik in the Northwest Territories. That's more than 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle.
What struck me immediately about this area is the stillness and serenity. Completed in 1979, the highway cuts across mountain ranges and rivers. It follows, for part of its route, the path used by dog sled patrols of the Royal Northwest Mounted Police. The rolling hills are blanketed by flowers, moss, and lichen. The trees are stressed by the severe winter cold and appear shrunken and stunted. The road to adventure is probably the best way to describe the Dempster.
Weather and terrain are rather unpredictable factors here, so I should tell you that driving the Dempster isn't easy. But it's such a beautiful journey. The scenery is just spectacular. It's well worth the ride. Here are some practical tips for the road. First of all, you want to gas up. Since the next garage is a few hundred kilometers from here, it's probably smart to bring a spare fan belt. Also, it's the law here. Everybody has to drive with their headlights on at all times. And since the Dempster is gravel road, it's wise to slow down for oncoming traffic. Oh yeah, and bring lots of film.
There are many scenic spots and campgrounds along the Dempster Highway. Yukon campgrounds are intended to provide a wilderness setting, and visitors are asked to keep campsites clean. All territorial campgrounds are equipped with firewood, hand-pumped cold water, picnic tables, and campfire pits. Usually located on the water, a government campsite fee is only $5 per day. Most campsites are open from spring thaw to fall freeze. If you prefer electricity, hot and cold running water, laundromats, and other conveniences, we suggest you try one of the Yukon's privately operated campgrounds. Dave and Heather have chosen to spend this evening at the Klondike River Campground just north of Dawson City.
Oh, hi, campers.
Hi, Lou. How are you?
Fantastic.
Have a
Hi, Heather.
seat.
How's the trip?
Just wonderful. How was your flight?
Oh, beautiful. Blue sky. We saw everything.
By our standards, this campsite would be considered roughing it. Makes me think of those settlers and prospectors who came in gold rush days. What perseverance. I wonder what those early settlers ate.
I picked up this Northern cookbook back in Whitehorse. Some great time-honored recipes, including Arctic gourmet cuisine for the adventurous cooks. Things like jellied moose nose, reindeer bourguignon, baked skunk, boiled porcupine, seal brain fritters, Arctic muktuk chowder. These may not be standard fare for outsiders, but up here, they're delicacies.
Coming up next, Dawson City and panning for gold.
Dawson City. It was the heart of the Klondike Gold Rush of 1898. As you can well imagine, news spread like wildfire. And before anybody knew it, the streets were crammed with 40,000 adventurers and fortune seekers, making this the largest Canadian community west of Winnipeg. Today, almost a century later, the population of Dawson City stands at just under 2,000. But as you walk through the streets, along the wooden sidewalks, you can still feel the spirit of '98.
The picturesque town beneath this hill called the Dome was in a sense Canada's last frontier. Today, Dawson City is a tourist town where quaint turn-of-the-century buildings still line the streets. The river was the key to this settlement, and for years it was the only highway in and out of Dawson. In the Klondike, they always put up a good front. If you look behind the fancy facades, you'll discover that the rest of the building was not much to look at. Nearly 100 years later, the style remains the same. A variety of accommodations are available. Prices range from $50 to $128 per night based on double occupancy. The famous American author Jack London, who wrote Call of the Wild, lived here that gold rush summer of '98. From May to September, visitors gather in Dawson City to listen to famous Canadian classics.
I stood at the mouth of a mighty hollow that was plumb full of hush to the brim. And I've watched the big husky sun wallow in crimson and in gold and grow dim, till the moon set the pearly peaks gleaming and the stars tumbled out neck on crop.
And I thought I surely was dreaming, with a piece of the world piled on top. Robert W. Service, the Bard of the Klondike. He wrote some of his novels and Yukon verse in a 2-room log cabin. Today it's a National Historic Site here in Dawson City. Always the optimist, he kept a sign up to help him fight writer's block. It said, "Don't worry, just work." And work he did. Robert Service became the voice of the Yukon prospector. Visitors will see his cabin just as he left it when he boarded the last steamboat of the season and left Dawson in 1912. Bonanza Creek is where gold was first discovered in 1896, and that discovery set off the well-known Klondike Gold Rush of '98. A year later, the first gold dredges were brought here. Today, visitors marvel at its size. Number 4 dredge once produced 800 ounces of gold in a single day. It is the biggest wooden-hulled bucket line dredge in North America. The operating season started late in April and continued day and night until November. Today, the search for gold continues in the Yukon, and as long as you don't do it on someone else's claim, you can try your luck at gold panning. Am I going to find anything here?
Oh, you never know.
I'm feeling lucky. Just show me how to do it here.
Okay, there's 2 steps to gold panning. The shake and the wash.
The shake and the wash.
Now
Look at
you
you dance.
Now you want lots of water. You shake side to side, quite vigorously. And
Yeah?
as you're shaking, you want to slightly tilt your pan forward. As you're shaking, that's right. Just enough so that the gravel doesn't go at the end of the pan.
Okay.
Okay, then after you've shaken,
Yeah.
stop, and you tilt your pan. You want quite an angle, even more of an angle,
Oh, yeah?
and you just dip it in the water.
Oh, we're almost at the bottom here. I gotta find. I hear some. Oh my goodness! I don't believe it!
Oh, wow.
Is this real?
This is my commission. Here.
I can't believe it. Wait a second here. This ferry service across the Yukon River is part of the highway system, so it's free. I guess the only thing that it may cost you is time if the lineups are too long. It's the only way out of the north end of town, and eventually becomes the top of the world highway. As part of the Klondike Loop, it takes you across the Alaska border. The top of the world highway can only be driven in the summer. In Alaska, you'll have to set your watch back 1 hour. Travel has a tip for highway travelers. To protect your car, attach mesh over the grille and put plastic covers over your headlights. The Yukon is the land of the midnight sun, where long hours of daylight allow for plenty of outdoor activity. This is what 10 p.m. looks like in Dawson City. She had a diamond chip in her tooth. Diamond Tooth Gertie was a lady of the evening at the turn of the century. Well, they named this building after her 30 years ago. Today, it's one of Dawson City's hot spots for nightlife.
I'll say hello, hello, see you smile. I'll hold you in my arms, yes, hold you in my arms, hold you in my arms again. Yeah!
Coming up next, trail riding in the Yukon and a visit to Kluane National Park.
Air transportation to the Yukon provided by Canadian Airlines International. Our world revolves around you.
Located in the southwest corner of the Yukon, on the Klondike Loop, is Kluane National Park. On the eastern perimeter, Haines Junction is an hour's flight from Dawson City.
It's the biggest national park in Canada, with the country's highest mountains and the world's largest non-polar ice field. But Kluane National Park defies its superlatives. The park offers activities and events for the whole family, things like guided hikes, mountain biking, and campfire storytelling served up with free tea and coffee.
Let the majestic mountains, still waters, and midnight sun of Kluane entice you. Kluane means many fish, and the lakes offer a variety. With the proper permit, you can enjoy sport fishing all over the Yukon. For a season's license, residents pay $30 and non-residents $35. And you should inquire about specific closures during the salmon run. The traditional way of Yukon Indian life has been shaped by the northern forests. Tribes congregated in groups during the summer to fish for spawning salmon, and in the fall to hunt for migrating caribou. Today, there are no restrictions for local Indians who, during the salmon run, set up temporary camps along the streams near their villages. Traditional smokehouses are used not only to smoke the salmon catch, but also meat that the Indians have hunted. The results are for their own consumption and are not for sale. Although Yukon Indians are very much a part of the economic and political systems brought into the territory from the south, they are keen to retain their own heritage and sense of identity.
There are a number of ways to explore the Yukon's great outdoors. Well, if you're not up to touring the Alsac Valley on foot, Mabel's Yukon Trail Riding is your chance to horseback with a difference. $10 an hour, $35 for a half day, and for a full day, $50. The breathtaking scenery is priceless. It's the great big broad land way up yonder. It's the forests where silence has lease. It's a beauty that thrills me with wonder. It's a stillness that fills me with peace. For Travel, I'm Lou Hennessian in the land of the midnight sun. Goodbye from the heart of the Klondike, the Yukon.
For more information on this travel destination, write to CFCF 12, 405 Ogilvie Avenue, Montreal, Quebec, H3N1M4. Allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.